Panic at the Disco, somewhat of a legacy act for me, somewhat of a nostalgia act for me as I was younger. I listened to these guys quite a bit. I was never fully sold on the first two albums like everyone else seemed to be at the time, although saying that quite unconfidently, as it's been absolute years since I listened to those albums. I always liked the singles, but the album I actually liked the most was Vices and Virtues. I thought that was the best album at the time. It was an album that has some really good songs, some tracks that even hold up today, I would say too. But yeah, maybe you have to go back and listen to all of their albums at some point to get a fully realised perception and perspective of what I think of their music today. I mean, I used the word there, but actually it's just one guy now. It's just Brendan Urie. It's become a bit of a one-man show. Not entirely sure how that happened or why. I don't know the ins and outs. Honestly, I think there's probably a bit of egoism involved. I get the impression that Brendan is kind of an egotistical guy. Maybe I'm getting him wrong and being unfair, but there is just something about the way he bombastically shouts in his songs that just makes me think he's like that. But yeah, a bit of a weird act overall. I mean, the way that members have left over the years, the fact that it's just one guy now, the fact that their sound has shifted to a bit more of a big sound, in a bit more of like a sell-outy kind of way. But one of the bigger weird things for me was how they were ever considered emo. I mean, sure, they wore eyeliner, but like they were never emo. I just don't get how they got heralded in that group with My Chemical Romance, bands like Brand New, all other kind of bands from that era. I just don't get it. I don't see what was ever emo about them at all. So I think they had a weird image that never made sense. But yeah, it's just one guy now and he's changed how things are, so that's just how it is. For the absolute worst, though, it's changed for the absolute worst. What has happened to this act? I don't know. But the music now is just so poor. The production is so loud. It's so bad, honestly. Like, it just sounds bad. The songs on this album just have no rhyme or reason to them at all. It's just all kind of loud and in your face and not mixed well at all. And then the vocals are just so awful. What happened to this guy's voice? He never sounded bad. I mean, he was never a bad singer. Like, why is he doing this? It starts off fine, don't get me wrong. The first track is okay, it's bearable. It's not too obnoxious, it's not too in your face. It's not great, it's not something I'd ever listen to, but it's fine. But then the track after this, right? I just don't know what happens. I don't get what he's trying to do. Every minute of every second of every moment of every day on this album, he is just like yelling, and he's not like hitting any notes, and he's not like restraining himself. He's just going full 100% in your face the whole time. And I'm going to keep reiterating this throughout the review because I don't want to keep saying that the vocals sound bad and, you know, pair that in with the fact that I think he's a bad singer. I don't think he is a bad singer. I think he's a perfectly fine singer, in fact. I think in previous albums he's had a good voice. I just think he's either being directed wrong or he thinks this is the direction he should go in. There's just something mismatched somewhere. Like, he's just not using his voice in the right way at all. Local God for me as well. Like, there's just no filter. Like, he doesn't know how to kind of control his voice. He doesn't really know where to sort of emphasize specific words. It's just everything is like full pelt, in your face, shouting, and it just doesn't sound good at all. Like, I just don't know why every track he does this. There's also this weird thing with the lyrics on this track as well, where it really feels like he's trying to say something so deep, but then you read what he's saying and it's just like, I don't really think he's got any interesting points to make. Like, I don't know. I feel like the idea of this like local God concept that he's got written down here is interesting, but the things he's saying just has no like poignancy or layers to it at all. He's just kind of speaking nonsense, to be fair. God Killed Rock and Roll as well is another track that I think lyrically is just really poorly executed. And Jesus Christ, it's got to be like the most obnoxious singing on the whole thing. He's literally screeching at points, to be honest. Like, I have no other word to use. He is just screeching, and he is just not nailing these notes at all. Like, I don't know what note he's trying to reach, but he is not getting any of them. He takes Star Spangled Banner far too literally with the banger part, and just has like these drums that are so overblown. It's insane. Like, it's so crazy how loud he's trying to make everything sound. Like, you don't need to do it all the time. Like, it doesn't need to be 100% at the top of the top loud for everything. You can have like staggered moments where maybe it softens and maybe it builds up and maybe it kind of like, you know, gets like a roller coaster. Like, he kind of builds up the instrumentation and then it kind of sort of slowly comes down. He could do something like that, but he's just at full pelt with everything, and it sounds atrocious. This is what I mean, man. Like, if you go back to Vices and Virtues, the tracks sound nothing like this. Like the Ballad of Mona Lisa, yeah, sure, he kind of gets a bit louder on the chorus as he goes, whoa, you know, that part of the song. Yeah, and that's okay. Like, that makes it sound quite anthemic. It has a bit of a layering to it, whereas like the verses are a bit softer and his vocals are a bit smokier. And then he kind of brings out the sort of like, at the chorus. Like, that is how you're supposed to really layer it. But like, this album is just like one sort of idea just smashed and hammered in for the whole length of the song, and it's like there's no sort of build up to it. It's just like I say, like a child like smashing things together to make a sound. Like, that's what some of these tracks sounds like. And yeah, you'd expect that from a kid, not an adult. And I know there'll be people out there and be like, oh well, what's different to something like in metal music where everything's loud all the time? It's like, it's different genres though, innit, really? Like, it's a different style of music. They have different purposes. He's trying to make pop music here, and it's like not achieving what it's trying to do. Because this is the thing. Maybe you could make this work if it was catchy, if it was fun, if it was enjoyable, but none of those words can be described for this album. So I have to critique it and say what it's trying to do isn't being achieved. Sugar Soaker was where I was just really lost with how like there's these like chugging rock and roll guitars, and like the rest of the song is just really limp. It's actually kind of funny, this one. It's not quite as like in your face and as obnoxious and as annoying, but it tries to be a bit rockier, and it actually doesn't really sound very good either. And then the Say It Louder, man, and it's like, this guy's like this far into his career, and it's like, how have you just run out of any possible ideas then to just make generic statements on this album and this track? Like, you know, say it louder for the people in the back. It's like, you've been saying it loud the whole album. What's this track different to the previous 5 or 6 songs? You're saying it loud all the time. It means nothing when you say everything loud. Sad Clown for me was just like unnecessarily theatrical. I think that's probably the best tagline I can use for this entire album. He just sounds like a theatre kid gone too far, and no one's there to tell him no. And it's just like he's hit a point now where it's just like, well, no one's saying this is wrong, so I'm just going to keep doing it, and it's just all for the theatre, darling. The best part of the album is right at the end of the album, on the final track, where the instrumentation fizzles out. Brendan is whispering, "Shut up and go to bed," multiple times over and over. And I am like, yes, please, Brendan, shut up and go to bed and make this stop. And when that's the best part of the album, you know it ain't good. So yeah, I couldn't get with this at all. I just don't get what's happened to Panic at the Disco, man. They never used to sound like this. There was control. There was purposefulness, there was rhyme and reason. Not every track was 110% shouting, saying random shit with the most obnoxious vocals you could ever bloody imagine. It never used to be like this. I can promise you right now, it wasn't. I think 3.5 out of 10 is where I'm at. It might sound harsh, but I really genuinely did not like this album at all. And to be fair, I could go even lower, but if I was harsher than I am, I would go lower. But I can't justify going lower. I've definitely heard worse than this in my life. But as far as albums go, this is terrible, in my opinion. I thought this was really bad. Thank you for watching this review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you agree. If you don't agree, please tell me why. If you do agree, also let me know why. Thank you for watching as always. Subscribe if you haven't already. Do have a good day. Please don't hate me if you love this album. It's just my opinion. And goodbye.